Hi, I'm Ariel. You're watching She Wants the Diction, and today I'm going to be doing the anti-TBR tag. I was tagged to do this by Mary over at Books and Pizza. Hopefully, I know sort of negative videos where I'm like dissing something tend to get more views on my channel, so that's why I was kind of hesitant about wanting to do this one, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it and go through the questions as quickly as I can. The first one being, a popular book everyone loves that you have no interest in reading. And for this, I picked The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I've seen nothing but rave reviews for this book, honestly, and nothing about it interested me. I'm not really into fantasy. I feel like anyone who even sort of watches my channel a little bit probably already knows that. And also, you know, ever since there was apparently a controversy where, like, this author was sort of appropriating indigenous trauma into this work, and there was sort of like some blowback from that. So that's like 2 strikes against it. Like, I wasn't even interested in the first place, and then also now I'm hearing discourse about how actual events were taken and the names were changed and they were woven into the structure of this book. I have no interest in it. Number 2 is a classic book or author you don't have an interest in reading. And I kind of struggle with this one just because I have nothing against classics. Like, I'm not really a classics reader. I don't read a ton of classics besides the ones that I read for school. But, you know, I really don't have anything against a bunch of classic writers. Like, I feel like there are so many classic writers like I would like to get to, but the idea of classics is honestly more appealing than the actual experience, if that makes sense, because a lot of times classics are very dense, they're old, so they're written in language that is harder to comprehend and harder to understand, and when you're reading in your free leisure time, you know, when you're tired and you just want something, I don't know how to explain it. Classics are not the thing that I'm going to gravitate towards. So do I wish I knew more classics? Yes. But do I regularly read them? Like, no. And so for this answer, I was kind of trying to think over books that I read in school that I didn't like. And I would probably pick John Steinbeck, not out of any great hate for him. It's just, I found The Grapes of Wrath extremely difficult to get through and extremely boring, even though I understand, you know, the points that it's trying to make about, the Dust Bowl and the migration and the depression and all that type of stuff. I just personally did not like the writing style at the time that I read it, which, keep in mind, I was probably in like maybe 8th grade. Number 3 is an author whose books you have no interest in reading. And for this, I'm going to go with Stephen King. I've only read 2 Stephen King books. One was Thinner and the other was The Shining. And neither one of them was I super impressed by. You know, I felt like they were long-winded. The protagonists are always kind of just dudes that suck in some way. I do feel The Shining in particular tended to draw on and on and on, just for way too long, and I just don't understand how Stephen King is as popular as he is. I don't really like horror in general, but I don't know what it is about his work. It's just not very good in my opinion. And I did do a review on The Shining that I had to actually turn off comments for because people were mad that I was pointing out certain aspects of the book that were racist in fashion. And I do think Stephen King, like, I've seen screenshots of him on Twitter, and I think, you know, he may have learned a lot since the publication of that book, because that book was quite old. And I do think he is probably a better person now, but I still don't have any interest in reading the rest of his work because I feel like I already know what it is. Like, I have no need to explore it further. Okay, a problematic author whose books you have no interest in reading. J.K. Rowling. I feel like everyone knows this by now, but she is a TERF, trans, exclusionary, radical feminist, and I don't want any feminism that isn't inclusive of trans people and that is making it about white feminism. You know what I mean? Like, I just do not like white feminism, and I do not like gender essentialism, and it's just disgusting. It's hateful, you know, and I kind of side-eye anyone who is still hanging on to those books. Now, it's different for me because I didn't grow up with those books. I was raised fundy, so Christian fundamentalist household. Lots of people, when I say that, ask me what that means. So if I keep saying that, you don't know what it means I was raised in a household where the Bible was taken literally, which is something that should never be done, but it was. And so Harry Potter was considered witchcraft and devilry because it has, like, wizardry in it or whatever. So I was never allowed to read it. So I did not grow up with it. I do not have the attachment to it that most people my age, I feel like, have. But I do side-eye people because it's like, how do you think that makes trans people in the book community feel when they see you still clinging to these books that are by a person who has refused any correction, any apology, continues to publish hateful tracts, It'd be one thing if she had been corrected and then changed her outlook, bad people write good works all the time. I mean, I feel this way about Orson Scott Card. He's a huge fucking bigot, but he wrote Ender's Game, which was one of my favorite books of all time, and really helped me feel seen in middle school. And so I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, can you separate the artist and the art? And I just feel like, I don't know, like, I just have no interest in Harry Potter. Like, I've passed the time window, and the author's a terrible person, so like, why would I ever bother? Number 4, an author you have read a couple books from and have decided their books are not for you. And for this, I'm going to answer Rivers Solomon. I have read 2 of their books. One was An Unkindness of Ghosts, and the other was The Deep. I just do not vibe with the writing style. I don't know what it is. I wish I liked it. I just don't. And all the summaries and stuff for their books always sound good, and then I get down to the actual reading and I like end up hating my life. The summary for their new book even sounded good to me, and I was just like, no, I'm not going to do this to myself again, because every time I read one of their books, I end up hating it. So I know that's a super unpopular opinion, for the book community, but it's the honest truth. Number 5, a genre you have no interest in, or a genre you tried to get into and couldn't. So I really have no interest in Westerns. A lot of horror. I am interested in exploring black horror, but other than that, like general horror, no. Unless it's mixed in with sci-fi or something like that. Romance, I tend not to read. Like, I feel like erotica and stuff like that is slightly different, but just like general romance, I feel like I like historical romance, like historical fantasy or something like that, but just straight romance, I feel like I don't tend to read those. And then also Christian fiction. Obviously, having grown up fundy, I have no wish to expose myself to that type of stuff again. I grew up having that stuff shoved down my throat, and I would just never really read religious literature like that. Number 6 is a book you have bought but will never read. It says this can also be a book you have unhauled or returned to the library unread. And I can't really think of one. Like, honestly, if I bought a book, I have every intention of reading it. Now, have I read every book that I've ever bought? Definitely no. There's definitely things that I bought like years and years ago before I understood that I needed to be more careful about what I was buying, and then ended up like getting rid of later because I was like, I don't need that sitting there bothering me, when I shouldn't have bought it to begin with. So I don't know. Every book I buy, I have the intention of reading, and I'm sure there's tons of books I've returned to the library unread that I can't sit here and think of right now. Actually, from where I'm sitting, I can kind of see my some books that are on my shelf, and I'm thinking maybe I won't end up reading Venus Envy by Rita Mae Brown, I believe it is. Yeah, because I read Ruby Fruit Jungle, which is like a classic of lesbian literature, but it had a lot of problems with it, which again are, sort of symptomatic of the times. It's a product of the times that it was written in, and there's going to be major issues, but I just don't know that the sort of focus on like Southern lesbians is really my thing, or that I like need to read another book by her, because I feel like I kind of got the idea from the first book that I read. Okay, number 7 is a series you have no interest in reading, or a series you started and have DNF'd. And I can think of a couple off the top of my head. The first was Motor Crush, and I really didn't like the direction that the plot went for this one. I don't want to spoil anything, but I just decided that I didn't want to continue. Sort of a similar thing with the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. I initially was like really liking that one, but I think I decided to stop after the second book. It's hard to explain, but some of the events from the first book aren't entirely clarified until the second book, and the things that were revealed in the second book kind of ruined the first book for me, if that makes any sense. So I decided not to continue the series, even though I know that series is super popular and people love it. Number 8 is a new release you have no interest in reading. And for this, I'm going to pick The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. I've seen nothing but rave reviews for that book again. I even enjoyed his podcast, which has the same exact name. And I feel like the reason I don't want to read it is because I already listened to the podcast. I was obsessed. That was one of the only podcasts I was listening to for a long ass time. And now I just feel like I don't need a book of it. I already get John Green's thing. I already get his style. No hate to him because I think he's cool as a person. But it's I've kind of already done it. I've already been there. I've already seen it. And I just don't feel like I have a whole lot of interest in revisiting what he was doing with the podcast, even if it is, new topics, new subjects. So that is the anti-TBR tag. I'm not going to tag anyone because I know that not everyone likes tags, and I don't know who's done what, and I haven't really been an active presence in the book community lately. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.